All right, guys. Substitute Teachers Lounge is excited to again talk to Jen Stevens, who's got a new book we're going to be talking about. You know, she's the intermittent fasting guru. So, Jen, how you doing today?
I am doing great. Still on cloud nine since my
Oh,
book launched yesterday.
how
So
could you not be? How could
I
you
know.
not be? I'm going to brag about it a little bit. I'm an early walker. I get up about I start walking at about 6 a.m. I do 5 miles in the morning. And you know I'm a substitute teacher, and I haven't been teaching since March 13th, so it's a
Right.
lots of mornings here lately. But I looked it up. Here's what you'll see when you go to this book. You'll see that it's number one. If you go to the weight loss section first, the paperback is number one. The audio book is number two. My version, the Kindle, is number three. And then there's some book called The Obesity Code. I mean, who knows anything about that? And then I know Delay Don't Deny is just a couple of notches down as well. But the exciting part, and I know you feel this way, I looked at all the books. It's number 34 when I woke up, and I hear it's number 29 now. That's amazing.
Out
How'd
of
you do
all
that?
the books on Amazon, that's what's just so amazing. Out of all the books you can buy on Amazon, whether you're buying children's books or textbooks or any books,
Right.
29 of all the books. I'm
That
so
is so
thrilled.
cool. And of course, I love having you on here because you're a teacher too, a retired teacher, 2018, right?
Right,
When
right.
okay. Uh, but you know, you're up there on the book list hobnobbing with Michelle Obama and Sean Hannity. How'd you do that?
Well, I just have a very great community and
You
that's
do.
excited about the book.
You
So
do. I
that
agree
that's
with
what
that.
that's what does it, right?
I'll remind all the listeners too that in the show notes when the podcast published, you'll have links to both books. I've read all the first one twice, and I've read this one. I got through about 40% in about 24 hours, last past 24 hours of my life. I would encourage you to buy both. And I'm going to talk a little bit today to Jen about different things than we did 13 weeks ago because I want you to go back and listen to that one. There's a lot of stuff in it. It was episode 39, March 14th. Go back and listen to that. Today, most of what we're going to be talking about, the fasting part, is going to be in the classroom and the hallways because she's a teacher. I will tell you this. I just listened to Just Jenny. And that's for those of you that don't know, that's a Sirius XM radio channel. Were you ever a radio personality?
I was not, but I'm a school teacher, like
I
everybody
guess
knows.
you're
School
such a
teachers,
natural.
I can talk. I mean, look, you can actually go back to my elementary school days and look at that. I was that kid that no matter who you put me beside, I would talk to them. So I
Right.
have memories of being in sixth grade and my teacher had me sitting by the wall because I would,
Oh,
literally talk to any
well,
kid you put me beside. So
right. That's pretty much me too. I think
yeah.
I never mentally matured past the age of 12. So I think
Oh,
that's why I get along with all the students so well. Let me tell you my progress. 13 weeks ago, I had told you I'd done it for a month and I lost 9. I've now done it for 3 months and I've lost 22.
wow.
I've got some bad habits though. I'm gonna ask you about some of my bad habits. In fact, we'll
Okay.
play a little game later called Greg, You're an Idiot. So I'll see. We'll see how that goes. But here's my monumental moment. Let me tell you this. After 6 weeks, I'm gathering sticks in the yard. I'm walking to take them back to the pile we keep in the back of the yard. My sweatpants fall all the way down to my ankles.
I knew
I
that's where
was,
you were going with that. I've heard this before from other people. Pants,
yeah,
pants on the ground. Y'all remember that song? Yeah.
yes, I do remember that. I do remember that. I was so excited. I walked the last 20 yards
Yeah.
with the pants down. So neighbors or no neighbors,
Right.
that was a nice feeling. Why don't you tell us? The first book was Delay, Don't Deny.
Mhm.
Second one is Fast, Feast, Repeat. How would you describe the differences between the two books?
That's a great question. And you have to go back in time to when I wrote Delay Don't Deny. It was 2016. And we were really still in the infancy of understanding fasting as the fasting community. Those of us that were doing intermittent fasting, I started in 2014 to 2015, lost 80 pounds. And a lot of us just thought it went down to, well, we're just eating less calories, fewer calories, because we're eating in a smaller window of time. So we thought it was all
Yes.
about calories. Then the obesity code came out, which you said correctly is number 4 on that
I
list
knew that,
today.
guys. I knew that. I
Yeah,
knew
yeah.
that. I
And
was
so
having some fun.
the obesity code came out and we realized, ooh, there's a lot more to this than just, calories in, calories out. And that started me down the path of understanding, why is fasting different? So at that time in 2016, I had a very small fasting community. We were like at one point, like 1,500 members. It was tiny compared to now when we're over 400,000.
That's
But
crazy.
new people were joining the group and asking questions, and my friends were asking me questions, my real life friends, and they were like, how do I get started? And I'm like, well, you could read this book, but don't follow what they say about diet sodas. You don't want those. You could read the obesity code, but it doesn't really tell you how to fast. I'm like, I just need to write a book, a real quick book that I can hand to a friend or say, hey, new member of my group, read this book, and then we will support you with your fasting. So that's why I wrote Delay Don't Deny. I wrote it pretty quickly. I got, just the facts that you needed to get started, and that was it. And it's important to keep in mind. I was rereading the success stories in that very first book recently, and some of them are a little like I would not put them in a book today because some of them don't follow clean fasting. They were, but remember, Delay Don't Deny intermittent fasting had not happened yet because that was before I wrote the first book. So
Right.
a lot of things have changed. But anyway, people continued to buy that little book that I wrote in 2016, and it has been a number 1 bestseller in the weight loss category over those years here and there. And, for a book since 2016 to still be out there and still getting purchased, that makes me really proud. But
Right. You
the
should be.
longer I worked with people in the community, the more I realized where the holes were in Delay Don't Deny. I realized what it was missing and what it needed. So my first thought was, I'm just going to revise Delay Don't Deny and put out an updated version. But then I thought, because I'm self-published with the first book. And so I thought what I would really like to do is have a wider reach and have a traditional publisher. And so I found a publisher. I'm working with Macmillan, which is St. Martin's Press, which is a division of Macmillan. And so put out the new book, all new, revised, updated. It's everything you loved about Delay Don't Deny, but with all the new science, because we've learned a lot more since 2016.
Yes.
This book could not have been written in 2016 when I wrote Delay Don't Deny, because we know more now. There's more research, and I have all the studies in the new book. The reference section is just really, really comprehensive in the book. All your frequently asked questions are there, because I've learned that as running these intermittent fasting support groups, we get the same questions dozens of times a day.
Sure.
And so we put all that together. When I was coming up with the frequently asked questions section, I wrote them all down, and then I even talked to my group moderators. Am I missing anything? They're like, oh yeah, you're missing. You don't have this. I'm like, yep.
That's
and
good.
So with all their feedback, and as time would go on, I'd be like, oh, there's one I'm missing, and I would put it in. So, if Facebook went dark tomorrow, then you would really be able to get all of your own answers.
There you go.
Fast, feast, repeat.
I was going to hold it up, but mine's on a Kindle. It's not as impressive as
right here.
That's good. Yeah. And buy them both, guys. You will enjoy both of those books. So
and they're not. It's not repeated. Nothing is repeated. Yes. It's not like I copied Delay Don't Deny. No, I mean there are different stories in Delay Don't Deny than there are in Fast, Feast, Repeat. You'll learn different things. I think that someone would enjoy them both.
I totally agree with that. Let me get more specific about something I just finished. Our best friends, I mentioned them in the last time we were together, the McCormicks, they live in Missouri. And we took a vacation to the Branson area this past week. And, I joked with you before we got on mic that I thought I would switch my 20-hour fast and 4 hours window to 4-hour fast and 20-hour window during the vacation. But, we shared both of our results, and we knew we'd come off of it a little bit because we weren't going to tie ourselves down during the vacation. But it's funny, as it progressed, I caught myself still wanting to try and see, well, wonder if I can do 20 hours today. Have you ever heard of the restaurant called Lambert's? where
I
they
have not.
throw rolls to you?
That sounds fun. I would catch them. I love rolls.
Well, we went there that day, and it was a lot of food. And I think, well, if there was ever a day when I still want to stick to 24, this is it. I'll do my 20-hour fast. I didn't eat for 4 hours. I'll eat a nice meal and then I'll enjoy it. But, and you've said this in the book, you really don't want to trash your diet. I mean, that's not the attitude that you have. But the real question I want to ask you, when you go on vacation,
Mhm.
how, and first of all, do you come off of your normal routine, and how much do you come off of your normal routine? Because
That's a
teachers like to
great
go on
question.
vacation too,
Yeah.
right?
I'm actually going on vacation on Saturday. I'm going to
Okay.
Charleston for 2 nights. We were supposed to be taking a cruise, the third annual Delay Don't Deny cruise. We've gone on 2 before. This was going to be number 3. And of course, cruises all got canceled. And we were going to be
Yes.
sailing out of Charleston, and we had 100 and something people going to come. And so we had to stop with that. That got canceled. We're planning another one for 2021. But we still had our hotel reservation. So a group of about 8 of us, and some of them are moderators in my group, are getting together for 2 days in Charleston. And then I'm going to my beach condo for a few more days. So I'll be gone for about 6 nights, I guess, 7 nights away from home. And I'm going to be in vacation mode. So the way that looks for me is, when I'm in Charleston, we'll get there midday on Saturday. And so I probably will not open my window until dinner. We're going to go out to dinner as a group on Saturday night. It's going to be a special dinner. And then I'll enjoy the evening, just whatever comes. Then on Sunday, we're going to be in Charleston the whole day. And so what is Charleston known for? The food, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm certain that I will open my window at lunchtime on Sunday. And so I want to have 2 meals in Charleston on Sunday. Then Monday, we'll get up, we'll check out of the hotel, we'll go to the beach. A few of us are going to the beach condo. And I probably, won't have lunch that day. We'll probably have just, maybe early afternoon cocktails when we get to the beach, and snacks, and then dinner. And then we'll play it by ear. Some days we might
Yeah.
have lunch and dinner. Other days we might not open our window till 4 p.m. with snacks, but we might keep it open till 1 a.m. Yeah, because
Right.
like the last time I was at the beach, we were sitting on the beach at 1 a.m. eating pretzels and drinking champagne. I had a long window that day.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
okay. Then I came home and I didn't have to punish myself or make up for it. I didn't do extra long fasts, as punishment. I just got right back in my normal routine. That's the beauty of intermittent fasting.
And that's what I did as well.
Yeah.
I was up a little bit, but not much. And we're
Right.
going to get into the scale here in just a moment,
Yeah.
because I'm a numbers guy. So you can bet I'm still going to look at the scale. Let me do one other question, school related.
Okay.
Since you retired in
Mhm.
2018, and that was after you hit your goal and
yeah.
you were maintaining, what did people, I'm going to assume, let me assume something about you, because I've read enough about your book to know this is true. I was a 3-hour diet guy. That was written by a guy named Jorge Garcia, I think.
I remember that.
Okay. Yeah. Back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
I would assume that, when you first started doing intermittent fasting and talking about the teachers, they might have just thought, well, here's another diet.
Right. They did.
But then what did they say to you after you lost all that weight? I mean, that had to be so noticeable. Could you tell they changed in the way they treated you or appreciated you or anything along those lines?
No, I mean, as far as me as a person and a co-teacher, my coworkers, they didn't treat me differently when I was obese at 210 pounds versus when I lost the weight and lost the 80 pounds. They really didn't. But they also knew me. The ones that had been there, I started working at this particular school in 2005. It was when that school opened. We moved back to town, the school opened, and we all started there at the same time. So when we started, I was at a lower end of my weight. And then I yo-yoed up then they saw me yo-yo down and they saw me yo-yo up. So the people that had been there with me since the beginning, they saw me through all the sizes. They saw me struggle. They saw how hard it was for me. They saw me when I was on the crazy, this diet or that diet and trying the different things, you know, when I was doing the doctor prescribed HCG injections. I mean, they watched me live it. And then when I finally was losing weight for good with intermittent fasting in 2014, 2015, you know, they're like, oh, Jen's doing something crazy again. Because again, that was before the obesity code. That was before autophagy was in the news. And that's a process that intermittent fasting turns on for us. It ramps it up. But then though, after they saw me finally not ever yo-yo, you know, as 2015 turned into 2016, and then I wrote a book, and then it was 2017, and then the book was doing great. And then it was, you know, late 2017, and I started talking about I'm going to retire now. And then they're like, oh, Jen's not so crazy. And then more and more of them started doing intermittent fasting themselves and living it as a healthy lifestyle. And they realized they felt better at school when they were doing it as well. And, you know, they would fast through the school day, most of them, and just, you know, have so much more energy. And, you know, think about this. The line at the copier is really short when everyone else is eating lunch.
That is true.
But if you're fasting, you get right in.
Get your work done.
Get your work done, then you can go home early.
Let's talk about the kids a little bit. And I was glad to see that you actually mentioned this in the new book, that perhaps the younger kids are not the ones you want to try to push towards fasting.
Right.
I will tell you though, that I substitute teach mainly middle school and high school, and especially high school. I talked to them how I had just started, because I taught about a month after I had started it, before everything shut down. And a lot of them were saying, oh, I could do that. I could do that. I was describing what I was doing.
Yeah.
So how much do you think I need to back off of that when students come up to me and say, I know you're doing this intermittent fasting, describe it to me. I mean, I sometimes get worried about their parents,
right.
You know, and things like that. What would you recommend in that regard if a student came up to any teacher and said, I know you're doing intermittent fasting. I think that would be good for me.
Well, the key is that intermittent fasting is not recommended for bodies that are still physically maturing. So as they're going through the teenage years, we can't give you a number because that varies from, you know, teen to teen.
Sure.
So really the best person to talk to, the teen and the parent need to talk to the child's doctor together and find out if they're at a good developmental place physically for an intermittent fasting lifestyle to begin. So I wouldn't, you know, teach it to the kids and let them know about it. Just, you know, because growing bodies have different nutritional needs than bodies that are grown. And I mean, I know it's tough because we have an obesity epidemic with our children as well.
Absolutely.
So we think, well, you know, intermittent fasting could help us with that, with the kids, but we just don't have research on, you know, safety for intermittent fasting for children while they're developing physically. And even in, you know, religions, that fast, you know, for example, Ramadan fasting in the Muslim faith, they do not require children to do the fasting because they recognize that, you know, their bodies are growing and developing. So that would be a conversation to have with the pediatrician just to make sure that the child is physically mature enough to handle intermittent fasting. Now, on the flip side of that, you know, I would never force a kid to eat when they're not naturally hungry. And you might think, well, isn't that exactly the same thing? No, it's not. If you have a teenager who wakes up in the morning and doesn't naturally feel hungry for breakfast, teach them to honor their body's hunger and satiety cues and follow what your body is teaching you every day.
Yes.
I don't feel like I need to eat breakfast. I'm not going to eat breakfast. But that's very different than saying I'm doing intermittent fasting. You know, I noticed my own boys when they were in high school, they often didn't eat breakfast. And I didn't force them to. I just let them do what felt right to their bodies. And then sometimes they'd come home, they'd eat like a horse, you know. Their bodies said, eat, 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 eat. So I let their bodies stay in the driver's seat. So I'd never force the kid to eat, but also don't encourage them to do intermittent fasting.
Good answer. And I know you said that in your book too.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember that. All right. Last 2 or 3 minutes or so, I want to play a game called Greg, You're an Idiot. Here's how it's going to go.
All right.
I'm going to say some, I shouldn't say ridiculous things because some of them I'm either doing or I read them on your Facebook page. And so here's what I'll do. I'll ask you the question and then I'll say, is Greg an idiot?
Okay.
You're free to call Greg an idiot if you want to do that. All right.
Okay.
All right. So here's my first one. I'm a numbers guy. Not only do I weigh daily, I weigh multiple times a day. I'm just fascinated by how much weight changes even during a 24-hour period. Is Greg an idiot?
Greg is not an idiot unless Greg weighs in the morning and then weighs later in the day and notices the scale is up 3 pounds and then says, oh my gosh, I've gained 3 pounds. Then Greg would be an idiot.
Yes, agreed.
But we actually get that from people that are so confused. Like somebody the other day, they were in the group. They're like, I did a 36-hour fast and I woke up and I'm 3 pounds heavier than I was when I started. How did I gain 3 pounds during this fast? Well, it's impossible to gain fat during a fast. Impossible. Impossible.
Good point.
So, while you're drinking fluids, though, pick up a gallon of milk. Liquids are heavy. So.
Good. All right, next one. I've read Delay, Don't Deny, and Fast, Feast, Repeat. That's all I need. I don't need to read any more stinking diet books, weight loss books. Is Greg an idiot?
Greg is a genius.
I like that. Good answer.
You don't. I actually have a chapter in the feast section of Fast, Feast, Repeat, which is getting rid of your diet brain forever. And the more diet books you read, the worse your diet brain gets because they all sound so logical and you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to follow this plan but keep one thing in mind about intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is not a diet. Intermittent fasting is about when you eat.
Absolutely.
What you eat is your diet. We all follow a diet of, whatever it is. Maybe it's the standard American diet. Maybe you feel better on a lower carb eating approach. Maybe you're someone like me. I do great with lots and lots of carbs. But if I need to lose weight, cutting back on fat a little bit is more helpful for me. A little less butter on my roll, for a little while. But we're all different when it comes to what foods work for us. But you don't get that answer in a diet book. You get it from your own self and seeing what works for you. So the very point of my book in the feast section is to empower you to stop looking outside of yourself for the answers. Find them inside of you.
Good. I'm going to ask 2 more questions because I'm trying to get you to call me an idiot before the show's over. So
I'll try.
Here's my next one. I'm 62. We've got some electronic bikes now, the pedal assist bikes that are really nice. So I've gotten into a habit about 6 o'clock every night, going out and riding them for a half an hour. And I could have ridden them till sundown, but I only had 30 minutes of my window left and I had to come back for that last snack before it closed. Is Greg an idiot?
Okay, well, I can't call you an idiot, but still not an idiot. But don't think about it as having to get food in during your window. If you come back from your bike ride, if you rode your bike for 30 more minutes and you came back and technically your window is closed, but you're legitimately hungry, have something else to eat.
Good.
Sometimes you might need to eat after the time that you decided your window would be closed because we're learning to listen to our bodies. There have been days that I realized I needed to eat more food, even though, the time that I thought my window was going to end had already passed. So don't be so rigid. Listen to your body. It's okay to extend your window. Don't eat just because the clock is telling you can.
Right. Good. All right. Now, this is the honest truth.
Okay.
And I told you I might tell you something that you'd fuss at me a little bit because I like chips.
Mm-hmm.
I typically open my 4-hour window with chips and salsa and nuts.
Okay.
But inevitably, I buy those big packs of chips that they're only like 120 calories a bag. So I usually go in and get another one. and then I eat a nice meal, and I eat an ice cream sandwich, and I still lost 22 pounds. Is that too much food? Is Greg an idiot?
Greg, you're not an idiot. You know,
Darn.
when you get to the chapter about calories in Fast Feast Repeat, you'll see that there are many foods. Nuts are one example of foods that our bodies process very differently than the calorie label tells us that we should.
Yes.
We
Yes.
actually don't, our bodies burn up calories processing them. More so, like, so you can only actually get, you know, X number of calories out of those nuts versus the label says one thing, but your body can only get so many. You'll see I explained it much better in the book than I'm saying it now. But you know, if you're having the results that you want and you feel great, then it's working for you. Now, nuts are a very energy dense food, even though they do have that little calorie math magic in there. So if you find that you start plateauing, you could just change it up a little bit. Instead of having a second handful of nuts, have some broccoli with some hummus.
I like broccoli. I like hummus.
I love broccoli with hummus. It's a delicious thing to have. And the thing is that our bodies are looking for nutrients. And so when you have something like broccoli and hummus, your body will be more satisfied. Plus, it takes up a lot of space in your stomach, and your body's like, I'm full and satisfied. Just if you need to tweak later, you can do that.
Yes, yes. Great answer. Guys, make sure you go out and buy Fast Feast Repeat before it sells out. You know, they might run out of paper to print the books. It's selling so fast.
It did run out in
I heard
Amazon
that.
UK is actually out of them. And because right now my publisher only has North American rights. So all the paperbacks are having to come from America. And some of the companies that ship internationally, they ran out. So
that is so cool.
Order. Yeah.
Well, you know what that means, don't you?
What?
If your book's doing so well that if I ever get to Augusta, you're buying supper.
Okay, I will.
All right. Are there any closing thoughts you'd like to share with us?
No, just I want people to come into intermittent fasting with a different mindset than you've started, you know, a diet in the past. This is not a diet, and you have the rest of your life to figure it out, because I'm sure you would agree, you're not going to stop because you feel so great.
Yes, yes. Guys, it is the greatest thing in the world. I cannot believe my friends turned me on to the book, and that it was, I shouldn't say easy. It takes some effort, but I'm eating the foods I like, and I lost 22 pounds in 3 months. So
awesome.
It's crazy. And Jen lost 80. So it is unbelievable. Jen, it has been great. I'm down to 187. My original goal was 179, just to say I got back into the 170s. So, and it's taking a little bit longer, probably because I'm getting a little bit lazier about it, to be perfectly honest.
It's not a race.
Yes, it's definitely a lifestyle. I can tell I feel better. I can tell that, you know, that stomach that was always sticking out there is not out there as much anymore. I don't have a six pack or anything, but maybe one day I'll stay on that bicycle.
Fabulous.
All right. It was great talking to you, Jen, and we will see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.